I've got some good news and some bad news. The bad news, your landing page needs work. The good news, that's exactly what we're here to talk about today. I'm Jill Saskin-Gales. I use the pronoun she and her, and I'm here with Optimizer to talk about landing page optimization for PPC. Now, in my last video about AI, I mentioned that there are two key skills that PPC practitioners need now that we may not have needed 5 to 10 years ago. Those are creative asset generation and landing page optimization. By creative asset generation, I mean the copywriting skills to write great ad text, the design skills to create great image ads, and the production skills to create great video ads. By landing page optimization, I mean knowing how to adapt your website so that you can get more conversions from your website traffic, something that's also called CRO, conversion rate optimization. In my experience, the number one thing that's going to affect your ROAS, it's not your targeting, it's not your CPCs, it's your conversion rate. With more and more AI coming into the worlds of PPC and SEO, it's more important than ever to ensure the content of your website and the structure of your website are set up in a way that Google can understand. For example, with Performance Max, you don't get to see exactly who sees your ads. You don't get to decide exactly what your ads look like. And if you have URL expansion turned on, you don't even get to decide what part of your website people go to after clicking an ad. Similarly, in the SEO world, AI overviews are really changing the way we think about what is useful content or what is helpful content or what you should be focusing on to get your website to rank higher on Google. This actually brings me to something I've been thinking about for some time, that the worlds of PPC and SEO are becoming more aligned than ever. For example, one of the key components of your success in Google Ads is your landing page. And not just for the reasons I mentioned earlier, that of course your on-site conversion rate really impacts the performance of your ads, but also because one of the important factors in Google Ads is something called quality score. There are 3 components of quality score: expected click-through rate, ad relevance, and landing page experience. Landing page experience has nothing to do with what happens in the ads platform. Instead, if we check the Google Ads Help Center, we'll find that landing page experience has to do with things like a fast load time, mobile optimization, original content, etc. So the things that make the landing page itself useful and helpful and overall a good experience for users. Now, on the SEO side of things, although that is admittedly not my specialty, what I do understand is that page experience is also an important part of SEO. For example, if we're looking at your core web vitals, that's going to take a look at how quickly your website loads and if it's easy to use and navigate and if it's mobile optimized, right? Does this sound familiar? So that goes into Google determining how your website will show up on Google organically, just like your landing page experience can affect how much you pay for ads and whether you get to show ads via paid search. And while I know we're all still digesting that leak of Google's organic ranking factors, one of the things that came out there was the importance of click data, and specifically that Google is looking at how long people spend on a website. For example, if someone searches for Optimizer and goes to the Optimizer website and 2 seconds later comes back to Google and looks for a different result, Google makes note of that. By the way, if someone clicks on an Optimizer ad, stays on the website, and then comes back to Google after that ad click, Google also makes a note of that. And then let's say they scroll down and there's, a blog article where someone recently reviewed Optimizer, and organically someone clicks on that and spends 1.5 minutes on that site. Google's going to make a note of that. They're going to realize that is a stronger result. And similarly, if the third ad down is a third-party review site that's reviewing a whole bunch of software and one of the reviews is of Optimizer, someone clicks on that ad, goes to that site and spends about 2 minutes there, and then maybe doesn't even come back to Google for a while after that, Google's going to make a note of that too. So the things to do to optimize your landing page and to make the content on your landing page more helpful, ensure it loads quickly, those are going to help all your marketing efforts. And from a Google perspective, it's going to help you in both your SEO and PPC. So let's delve one level deeper into the kinds of landing page optimization you can do. First of all, we know that more and more automation is being used in Google Ads and all the ad platforms. So you're probably using at least one automated targeting feature like broad match keywords or optimized targeting or audience signals or dynamic search ads. The list goes on and on, okay? So how does your landing page affect the targeting of your campaigns? Well, if you're using broad match keywords or dynamic search ads, for example, then Google is going to be looking at your landing page to determine which queries are relevant for you to show on. Put more simply, your landing page is your targeting when you use broad match keywords or dynamic search ads. Now, with dynamic search ads, we know that because we're setting specific dynamic ad targets on our website. But with broad match, this wasn't the case when broad match first came out, but it's the case now that sure, you have your broad match keyword. It's going to allow you to serve on, a million different potential searches. And one of the things that's used to filter which searches you should show on is the landing page itself. So your landing page directly impacts how your Google ads are targeted. Now, what about creative? Well, if you haven't come across automatically created assets yet, you might want to pause this video and go check on those. You can find this in your campaign settings. When you look at your different assets, you can see if they are advertiser created or automatically created. And this is where Google is actually looking at your landing page and pulling things like text to use for your headlines or images to use for your image assets. Those are just some examples. So your landing page directly influences, impacts, and informs some of the creative that's showing in your ads. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, your landing page is going to directly impact the performance metrics of your campaigns. It's things like your conversion rate and your average order value, which are determined on your website, that are going to influence whether you're going to hit your ROAS or CPA goal. Let me give you a concrete example here. So one coaching client I've been working with has a shopping campaign that's on a target ROAS bid strategy, okay? And it's been running that way for quite some time. Now, over the last year or so, the CPCs of this campaign have gone up about 20 to 30%, as CPCs are known to do. The conversion rate has not gone up accordingly. So how has ROAS remained consistent? Well, the average order value has gone up. And how has that happened? Well, the shopping campaign has been prioritizing different products, more expensive products, in order to get people to spend more to compensate for the fact that those CPCs have risen. Because of course, ROAS is conversion value divided by cost. So if cost goes up, conversion value has to go up too to maintain the same ROAS. Another factor to keep in mind is when you're trying to sell a more expensive item, often your conversion rate goes down. Really easy to sell a $20 item, harder to sell a $200 item, really hard to sell a $2,000 item, and conversion rates tend to see that. So what's interesting about these results as well in maintaining this ROAS in a world of rising CPCs is that that conversion rate had to stay constant as the average order value went up, which is not easy to do. But Google Ads was able to figure out through his automation how to take the information, in this case from the shopping feed, which comes directly from the landing page, especially because we're just using the built-in Shopify Google Merchant Center integration here, and that landing page directly impacting how that bidding algorithm is working in order to achieve the results we need. Now let's get to everyone's favorite part. What are some of the most common mistakes I see when it comes to landing pages for PPC? To illustrate some of these mistakes and what you should do to avoid them, we're going to use one of my personal favorite examples, which is from the accounting software industry. And with apologies now to these Google Ads teams, go ahead and search for FreshBooks versus QuickBooks, or probably any two kinds of accounting software versus each other, and you'll find something similar. So the 5 most common mistakes I see are that the PPC landing page is not mobile optimized, that it's not related to the search, that the headline on the landing page is just the brand name, not something highlighting a benefit specific to what the user is searching for, that there's no clear call to action above the fold, dive into that, and that the website looks very, shall we say, Web 2.0, which makes it just not seem trustworthy. Now, Not here to denigrate the businesses we're about to see. In fact, they are all examples of doing these things right. So let's take into a look at how QuickBooks, FreshBooks, and then HoneyBook handle this query. So first, let's start with the first result from QuickBooks. We can see once I click on it, see how QuickBooks stacks up for small business. That headline is specific because FreshBooks is specifically geared towards small businesses. And then they're using social proof here. See why over 7 million customers globally choose QuickBooks. Clear call to action above the fold. And then if we scroll down, it has all the information we need to directly answer our query. A really great way to check if a website is mobile optimized, even if you're on desktop, is just to drag it in. So I'm going to drag this in and see how it adapts. And look at that. We can see on mobile, it's still very clear. There's a clear call to action. The video is collapsed there, and then we head on down. So nice job there, not making some of those mistakes we spoke about. Next, let's take a look at the FreshBooks example. FreshBooks versus QuickBooks. FreshBooks is stress-free. We have industry-leading customer support. So this is somewhere FreshBooks is really leaning in, is somewhere that they believe they do much better than the competition. If that's something that matters to you, then great. And if that's something that not matters to you, then maybe this wouldn't have been the right choice for you. We have 2 calls to action here, which I personally find confusing. QuickBooks had that too, but one was very clear, start free trial in this green color, and the other's a bit faded away, see plans and pricing. Funnily enough, both websites use the same navy and green, but here the save 90% now feels a bit hidden in the navy, where the try it free is much bigger in green. I can already tell by the layout here, this is going to pass our mobile test. So let's take a look. Yeah, you bet it does. And then if we come down, we have our comparison, which is exactly what we were looking for. By the way, these comparisons are highly effective. And the great thing is you can stack the comparison in your favor and highlight those things that you do better. And if there's some things you don't do as well, you just don't need to highlight them here. Now, what about our friend HoneyBook? They have a nice creative headline here. You meant HoneyBook, right? Built for small businesses. So let's take a look at this landing page. It's HoneyBook versus FreshBooks. Learn the key differences between HoneyBook and FreshBooks, start free trial. So they've done a good job of making sure it's specific to the query. I like that they only have one clear call to action, but learn the key differences, in my opinion, is not so compelling compared to the way that FreshBooks here really highlighted stress-free, industry-leading customer support, and then QuickBooks leaned into why over 7 million customers choose us. So that's something HoneyBook could improve here. But as we come down, we see once again, we have this comparison chart, and it's directly answering what I was looking for. Does it pass our mobile test? Let's see. Yep, so you can see it adapts. That image completely goes away so that on a mobile device, this would still render well. Now, at the beginning of this video, I told you that I had some bad news and that I already knew your landing page needed some work. I'm going to bet that you agree with me there. And I want to ensure you're not making some of these easily fixable mistakes. So what are the easiest places to start? Something like making sure your website is mobile optimized, for example, can admittedly be more complicated to fix. Or even page speed load times. That can have to do with a lot of technical stuff that, especially as a PPC practitioner, it would be hard for us to control. So what are some of the lowest hanging fruit fixes that you can check today to make sure you're not missing out on valuable conversions? That headline at the top of the page, you see how important that is. You want to reassure the user that they've landed in the right place and they're going to find an answer to their question. Remember, even if the user's query was not phrased as a question, it's a question. They've got a problem. They're looking for an answer. Show them you've got that answer so they don't bounce on back to Google and look for a different result. Clear call to action above the fold, okay? That is just a way of saying the button that someone should click. It should be in a bright color that stands out and differentiates it from everything else on the page. You want that to be the unique color that you only use for links and buttons, and you want it to have some kind of action word, a verb on it to drive people to convert, to take that next step. And then one more key mistake I really hope you're not making on your landing page is forgetting to include social proof, reviews, testimonials, just putting those 5 yellow stars Doesn't even matter what text or stuff comes after them. It just reassures that user, especially if they're new to you, that they're not the first person to give this a try, that they're in good company. Or like that QuickBooks example showed, that plenty of other people are happy using this product. Happy optimizing.